مشاهدينا مرحبا بكم في حوارات السياق. أعلن الرئيس اللبناني ميشيل عون رسميا قبول لبنان للاقتراح الأمريكي النهائي لاتفاقية الحدود البحرية مع إسرائيل. عموما للمزيد من المتابعة حول هذا الملف تنضم إلينا من فيلادلفيا ليا بيدرو مساعدة الأبحاث في معهد أبحاث السياسة الخارجية. أستاذة ليا مرحبا بك معنا.
Thank you so much for having me.
ما الذي نعرفه حتى الآن عن الاتفاق؟ على ماذا حصل لبنان وعلى ماذا حصلت إسرائيل؟
Yes, so this agreement is very important for both countries, but particularly for Lebanon in this instance, simply because they're the only country in the region that has not been able to get involved in the natural gas exploration and benefit from the financial gains that come with it. So essentially, it's a 330 square mile area or 860 kilometers. And there are two gas fields that are believed to have significant natural gas reserves. And both countries will be able to explore natural gas in this area, and they also will have the financial benefits. One of the fields, Lebanon will pay royalties to Israel for the profits made from the natural gas in that area. But essentially, the line between the two country borders in the ocean was a 3-mile line of buoys, and that line will be still in place as a defensive position for Israel, and that kind of satisfied some of their needs in terms of security concerns. And I think if primarily it's going to be potentially a huge profit opportunity for both Israel and Lebanon.
هل تقصدين هنا أن إسرائيل حصلت على المنطقة الآمنة التي طالبت بها؟
Yes, so I think that the zone aspect of it is a bit unclear, but they will maintain a border of some kind where they are kind of calling it a safe zone, as you said. So there's also been some speculation on comments made that have not been yet confirmed by American members involved in the negotiations that provide some security guarantees should any potential spoiling take place by Hezbollah or security concerns, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So as you said, we don't fully know what the contents of the agreement are, but hopefully we will have more information on it as the day goes on and tomorrow.
عند هذه المرحلة هل لدينا فكرة عن تنازلات كل طرف لإتمام الاتفاق؟
So it's been quite limited. I do know that it's been regarded by both countries as something that they are getting their wishes met and their needs met in each instance, but we don't fully know what that entails. Obviously, we know that Israel is very concerned about Hezbollah and its potential profit or benefit from the revenue that would be received from the natural gas by Lebanon, and that's something that has been curtailed by promises from American officials that it won't reach Hezbollah. But again, we don't have any information on that, and at this point it's fairly speculative on what the concessions typically that we would know more about are.
بالفعل يتم الحديث عن ورقة ضمانات أمريكية تتضمن بندا يحرم حزب الله من الاستفادة من موارد الغاز، وهنا سؤالي: كيف سيتم تنفيذ ذلك؟ حزب الله دولة داخل الدولة في لبنان، يتداخل في كل مفاصلها.
Exactly. I think that's the question that a lot of us are hoping to find out the answer to, because as you said, I don't know how one country could prevent Hezbollah from benefiting financially on potentially a deal with a foreign company, perhaps one of the French groups that's been involved in talks with Lebanon on a project together. How could they regulate, this change of hands with money and make sure that it's not getting into Hezbollah's hands, particularly when Hezbollah's hands are in everything in the Lebanese government, as you said. I think also something that is important to remember is how desperate the economic situation in Lebanon is, especially at this point. I mean, energy is a concern for so many in Europe now. And as the war in Ukraine is continuing, it's required people to get more creative about who they're going to get their natural gas from in the future, because we don't know how long that conflict is going to take place.
بحديثك عن الوضع الاقتصادي المنهار في لبنان، هل هذا يعني أنه الحلقة الضعيفة والأضعف في الاتفاق؟
I think I can understand that viewpoint, and I would agree in some ways, but I do think that it's a very large challenge for Israel and for a lot of its political parties and just politicians in the country to make any sort of concessions with Lebanon. And I think that it's going to challenge some of the more hardline Israeli politicians in how they're perceived by the public. So I'm not sure who is getting the worst deal in this, because I think that it's going to kind of damage the image that some of the public in Israel might have of its government, but at the same time, it may also, be a good thing for those who are just supportive of preventing a larger conflict from breaking out. I think it is important, though, to remember that they both will benefit from it. So it's hard to say who is losing in this.
بالمقابل، هل بصمات حزب الله موجودة في الاتفاق؟
I think I'll go back to the comment that you and I kind of agreed upon a moment ago. They are involved in so much with the government that it's hard to discern what Hezbollah has or hasn't touched in terms of their domestic politics and also in their international relations. I think that Israel is cognizant of this and they're aware, and I would be hesitant to say that they aren't in some way involved, but I think that that's where the American security guarantees that we've heard rumors of are kind of coming into play, because they're preventing that fear that Israel may have of Hezbollah's involvement from taking hold of the agreement and preventing it.
هل يمكن لهذا الاتفاق أن يتفادى أي مواجهة مستقبلية بين حزب الله وإسرائيل؟
I think that it does. It definitely sets up a potential, mutual deterrence between the two. We've got something that they're both going to benefit from, and if they don't want to do anything that would throw off the balance between the two countries, that would prevent them from continuing to profit from this natural gas exploration. It certainly could not only prevent from conflict that could take place, but it could also act as a sort of catalyst for peace and perhaps further agreement between the two countries and normalization.
ماذا عن أهمية الاتفاق لأوروبا؟ تابعنا اهتماما أوروبيا خاصا باعتبار أن الشركات التي ستستثمر في الاتفاق فرنسية وأمريكية.
Definitely a great question. I think energy has been so important in the news, especially in Europe over the past few months, with the energy crisis that is likely to ensue this winter in countries that are getting so much of their natural gas up until recently from Russia. And I think the significance particularly is going back to what I mentioned earlier, that creative mindset of finding new natural gas reserves, new partners to work with in accruing different natural gas resources, and also making sure that they're not too reliant on one country for doing that. I know there was some hesitancy before this agreement a couple of years back with partnering with some of the EastMed natural gas exploration initiatives, simply because there was this huge concern for security, particularly between Lebanon and Israel. So it's, I think, giving a green light for more companies to get involved. And I know, as I mentioned earlier, there is one company that's working or already speaking with Lebanon about participating in natural gas exploration, and that is who was the name of the company? I cannot remember the name. I apologize. I think Total is who has been in talks, but also Chevron. They work with Israel currently. They could work further with them. I think it's Noble Energy is another one that could work more. And I'm interested to see if they will consider, doing natural gas exploration with both Israel and Lebanon. I think that's something we'll definitely need to look at moving forward.
هناك من يقول إن الاتفاق سيكون قصير المدى ويعلل موقفه بأن الحل فرضته الأزمة أو أزمة الطاقة في أوروبا الملحة وحاجة رئيس الوزراء الإسرائيلي للدعم في الانتخابات المقبلة، دون أن ننسى حاجة الولايات المتحدة إلى انتصار دبلوماسي. ما تعليقك؟
So I agree in part. I think for the political aspects of it and the sort of public relations of achieving the deal, that is short term, and the benefit from participating in and approving the negotiations and what will eventually become the agreement, it's more focused on the short term because it is showing the political will of both sides and the US as a negotiator and facilitator. But I think it is important to remember how long natural gas exploration can take. It will likely be years before Lebanon sees profits from this natural gas because it's still underground, and they will have to be patient with this profit coming in, and I think that's what makes it more of a long-term agreement than short-term, is simply because of how long it will take to get the money.
أستاذة بيدرو، شكرا للمشاركة معنا في حوارات السياق.
Thank you so much for having me.
مشاهدينا، شكرا على طيب المتابعة. إلى الملتقى.